The dog days of summer are upon us. So that means it's time for coronet extra with lime, because that's how we roll. Before you get all snobby on us, bear in mind, this is like the summer drink if you don't get it in your eye. You don't get the lime in your eye. So what's this I got in my hand? Internet. I don't know. Could that be our letter of acceptance to some big publisher? I don't know. Let's drink before we find out. I certainly haven't read this yet. All right, so this is from Sterling Lord Literaristic. Whoa. This is one of the most prestigious and oldest literary agencies in New York City. Well, go team. Go team. Whoa. Go. And it says, Dear Sarah Ellinson of 1124 Generic Strasse Street. Strasse just street. Generic street. I was just in Germany. She lives in Trotwood, Ohio. I think that was Lissa's contribution. It says, Dear Miss Ellinson, thank you for your query and interest in our representation. I've had a chance to review Oaken, and the what you re-attempting is very ambitious. I'm not certain that it works. Certainly the Elder Gods aspect is an interesting new angle for a paranormal romance, but I feel that the characters are still lacking unique and dynamic voices. At present, they appear to be rather one-dimensional. As a result, I fear this manuscript does not altogether work for me. Please remember that reactions to fiction are entirely subjective, so we recommend that you try some other agents. That was really nice of her. That was very nice of her. It's almost like she was in on the joke. This is a really good example of the nicest, most helpful rejection letter you could possibly hope for. So yeah, this can go up on our wall of proud. We got another rejection that was unfortunately not on a lovely printout with a company letterhead. With a Oh, the chop chop. First off, it was the agent's assistant, and it was just like, sorry, this isn't for me. Better luck next time, which seems to be the more common form of rejection. So short. Short. Ye. And I gotta be honest, I am finding that even though it is like, the query is ridiculous and we will read it, not this episode, but another one, it's a still kind of nerve-wracking and it just kind of hurts your feelings, you know. What do you mean you? re-injecting our magnum opus of Cthulian love. Do you know how many people it took to make this? I feel like it's in the thousands by now. But with these two rejections from literary agencies, I should also bring up the fact that we did get some interest from an actual publisher, and this was kind of completely out of the blue. This was not something I reached out for. Someone messaged me. I'm not going to mention the publisher by name, but it's a small, independent publisher that specializes in science fiction, and one of their associate editors contacted me and said, "Hey, I've been watching the show. Maybe you want to send us a dozy way with some my when something this side man this sound this sound the seven the so the Saturday deal you and so that brought up an interesting sort of dilemma, since we were sort of going on the assumption that we were going to get rejected from everything because it's ridiculous. And then we were going to self-publish it and continue this ruse off this fake author who lives in Trutwood, Ohio, with her 5 children, Matt, Allison, Josh, and Marianne. And now it's like, well, this brings up an interesting little dilemma, and that I think a lot of authors are struggling with right now, which is the question of traditional publishing through an actual publisher versus self-publishing, which is easier now than it has ever been in all of the history of the publishing. So traditional publishing through a publisher, publishing house, agents probably involved. Well, with those there's often, what? The cash advance. There's people to actually help you edit your novel, make it the best it can be in theory, and also some marketing that I would think would go in it as well. It kind of exists on a spectrum. There are. I think the most common one is you publish with a traditional publisher and they give you a cash advance, and then after a certain amount of successful sales you start to get residuals. There are some, especially newer digital imprints, that have no cash advance. There are some that are residual only. It's like a wide spectrum that kind of varies from the traditional Stephanie Meyer gets an agent, agent finds a publisher, they publish it, she gets a 7-figure advance. I'm not kidding. 6-figure. She was 6-figure, not 7-figure, sorry. But she apparently did get a 6-figure advance for the Twilight series. This does not happen anymore. And then, of course, there's self-publishing, which is completely changing the paradigm, especially in light of our good friend E.L. James here. There are a lot of authors that did kind of start in this genre that we are exploring/parodying. Amanda Hawking is one. I'm not familiar. I haven't read any of her stuff, but I know she was very popular in Amazon. Colleen Hawke. Hook. So it is changing the paradigm a little bit, but I think in terms of the actual publishing industry, these people are extreme outliers. The vast majority of people who self-publish will sell like 3.5 copies. So the question is, what would be better for our Sarah Ellenson traditional publishing? And we not assuming that this publisher will like her masterpiece, which we did designed to be a very subtle parody. It's not like a Harvard lampoon, you know. Of course, there is a question of turnaround. Yeah, exactly. If we did go with a traditional publisher, and if they did like it and they made us an offer, it would take at least a year for the public to see the light of day, because we have to do copy editing, and then we have to todo the early reviewers and the book bloggers, and then it's because publishing is like the film industry is like a greyhound. Publishing is like a sloth on Xanax or something. Now, I mean, you made the mention before of you. James went very quickly from self-published to a smaller publishing company to Random House. Very fast turnaround, and oh brother, does it show. The phrase "floor the pedal to the metal" is in the final manuscript. Floor the to the floor the pedal to the metal. Okay. It's like someone gave it one more run through and was like, done. Yeah. It's going to make us money. I don't care. And it worked. And it worked. Yeah, it worked. There is that, but there's also, if we did go with a traditional publisher, we'd kind of have to give up our roots. It would be harder. Yeah, he would have to drop the Sarah Ellison. You. We would still use the pseudonym, but there wouldn't we be the ruse. We wouldn't have our fake author getting in Facebook fights with reviewers that gave her a bad review, which she totally would, by the way. She's that person. We'd have to delete all the kid tweets. You. All the kids. All the kids with their Twitter set up. Which is the one with the Transformers jacket. That's Josh. And also we kind of have a leg up that other potential self-publishing authors might not, in that we have an audience. You. Viewers like you. We have an audience that has been following this for months, so obviously they really like you. We want it. We want it now. We want to see the horror. Or hope that you don't. Well, I mean, it is kind of a push-pull. There is a lot of benefit to traditional publishing still, but you have complete creative control over your own product and how you market it when you self-publish. And also you get more money. That is true. Per unit sold. Because honestly, our plan had been, if we do go the self-publishing route, like once we get our stack of rejections, we would do that probably by the end of the summer. But if, it might be longer if the traditional publishing thing does happen. We would have to sadly drop our roots, but might end up with a better product, more interesting product. It is tempting, but it's so tempting. Like if they show, like after they rate it and they show that actual interest, to be able to say no, I'm a published author through an actual publisher. Yeah. I mean, because there is still me and 7 other people. There is still, absolutely. Well, I mean, that's the thing. There is still this idea that if you self-publish, you are not really a writer. You know that you read, and I think that will change because like blogging, like if you write for Jezebel, you are a journalist now. That wasn't the case 5, 10 years ago. The paradigm is shifting. The paradigm shifting. The paradigm. It's just a question of how much and how fast. And I think, but the other thing is like if they did make us an offer and we took it, that would take some creative control away because, you know, obviously they do want to make changes. They might want to push it. I mean, what if they don't want to? More in the parody direction. There is a definite allure to both sides. I look forward to seeing how it develops. A challenger has arisen. Yeah. So that's where we stand. Thank you for sticking around this long. As we have shopped it around, we could maybe, after a couple weeks, release at least a part of it just so people will know what it ended up being like. Well, maybe like the first that we sent for. Of course. Once again, the Twitter, our author's Twitter, who might not end up being the thing. I was really looking forward to her getting in fights with people who left bad reviews on Goodreads. Because I love it when people do that. I am watching you lesser-known authors that get in fights with people who leave you bad reviews on Goodreads. Oh yeah, you are an inspiration to our non-existent authorists.